Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, I'm going to be talking about my 5 favorite and least favorite mystery thriller tropes. Mysteries and thrillers are my favorite genre of book, and so in this video today, I'm going to be talking about recurring elements or plot devices in thrillers that I love and some that I really hate. These lists today are going to be in no particular order, and everything was just from off the top of my head, so I might have forgotten a trope that I really like or one that I really don't like, so make sure to let me know your favorites and least favorites in the comments section down below. Also, I'm not going to be spoiling any mysteries or thrillers in this video, so I'm sorry that I can't give you specific examples of where these tropes were done well or poorly, because all of them are pretty spoilery to a certain degree, so I really can't go into specifics without telling you major things about books. To start off on a positive note, one, let's say, stylistic choice that is very common in mysteries and thrillers that I personally really like and hope we will continue to see is multiple timelines and or multiple points of view. I personally really like these in thrillers because I think for thrillers in particular they work really well, because if there's some kind of murder or crime in the book, it's really interesting to see this from different perspectives or to see the events that led up to what has happened. I think that using multiple points of view and or multiple timelines also just makes a mystery thriller narrative much more interesting, and I think you can really utilize it to have a really satisfying effect in choosing what you're going to reveal when, and maybe having multiple different characters who all see a situation differently. This is a trope that I really love, but actually I was talking to my mother recently and she doesn't like the multiple timelines. She said she's really sick of seeing it. But in my personal opinion, I think this can be very effective in mysteries and thrillers, and I haven't gotten tired of it yet. I really enjoy this. One thing in thrillers that I am getting rather tired of, though, is Munchausen by Proxy. Especially under specific circumstances, Munchausen by Proxy refers to a condition where a person will harm the health of somebody close to them, particularly a child, in order to garner themselves sympathy. And I think this has kind of reached a point where it is very overdone in mysteries and thrillers. Now, if this is an element of a mystery and thriller that you know about from the beginning, like for example, Darling Rose Gold, which is on my TBR, and it's about a girl who wants to get revenge against her mother who did harm Rose Gold because she had Munchausen by proxy. That I think is okay, because you know that that's going to be part of the story when you're getting into it. I think I'm just tired of seeing this being used as a reveal in books because, in my opinion, it's been overdone at this point and I don't think it's surprising anymore. Next, a mystery and thriller trope that I do enjoy is what I am going to be calling the jerk victim. Now, I love true crime shows and watching true crime YouTube videos, and pretty much always when you have someone who is murdered or goes missing, the family members will tell you what a wonderful person they were and how they didn't deserve this, how their smile could light up every room they went into. That line is used quite a lot. And not to make light of that, but I think because people always talk so fondly of the dead, in fiction, I actually enjoy when the deceased is a horrible person. I think that's just really a change from what you usually see, and so that's really enjoyable to me. It's just not what you would expect. And I also think what's great about this, where you have a jerk victim, as I call it, it means that pretty much every character in the book could potentially be a suspect, because if you're a murder victim, treated so many people horribly, that creates a whole bunch of motives. And I think the more possible motives and avenues you have to explore, the better your thriller is going to be, because if all the signs are clearly pointing in one or two directions, you're really not going to have that surprise factor in the end. Next on my worst list is a trope that is in some ways a necessary evil, but there are definitely better ways to execute it than others, and that is the villain monologue. Obviously, every mystery or thriller has to have a villain, a murderer, someone who committed this crime who's going to be exposed at the end of the book. And the villain monologue refers to when the villain just gives a long speech talking about everything they did and why and what their motives were. And to some degree, you do need to have that hero and villain confrontation where the truth is exposed. But the villain has to reveal information in a way that feels realistic, because if somebody's gotten away with this horrible crime, why are they just spilling all of their secrets to the main protagonist? It doesn't make sense. Like, bud, you could have gotten away with it if you just kept your damn mouth shut. So obviously the hero and villain confrontation is a big part of most mysteries and thrillers, and you do need to have the villain's motive be explained by the end if you want it to be satisfying, but it also has to be realistic. You can't just have the villain explaining everything, you know? That's just not satisfying or realistic. Number 3 best is a trope that I am going to call rich people behaving badly. And I don't know, but for some reason, I just love reading books or watching shows about the lifestyles of the rich and scandalous. So I really enjoy thrillers that follow a bunch of wealthy friends or a wealthy couple or a wealthy family where they're just horrible people who do horrible things like cheat on their spouses, kill people, blackmail people, lie, cheat, and steal. I don't know why, but this to me is just so interesting. It's just a guilty pleasure. Maybe it's because it's so different from my own life. And this is just something that I really enjoy in thrillers and in other different genres too. That being said, a lot of times when you have these rich couples or families or friends, they are all predominantly white people. I think thrillers really don't feature a lot of characters of color or authors of color, and I would also like to see that emerge in the genre in the future. Next, a trope that I can't stand is what I'm going to refer to as the malicious suicide. This was used in one particular very popular young adult mystery thriller, which I won't say the name of because it would be a major spoiler for the book if you hadn't read it, though I'm sure a lot of you out there know which book I'm talking about. And what I mean when I say malicious suicide is when the murder victim is revealed to have actually committed suicide, and they were basically trying to get somebody else set up for their murder when it was actually a suicide. And the reason that I don't like this is because I just think it's really insensitive to people who have died by suicide or people who have had that personally affect them in their lives. What? Sorry, she's screaming at me because she wants someone to pet her. But like I was saying, basically the reason why I don't like this trope is because I think it's very insensitive. People who commit suicide, they're not doing it to be malicious. They're doing it because they are really struggling mentally or emotionally, and they don't see another way out. So I think this trope is just generally insensitive. Now that I think about it though, there actually is a book that I like, okay, I'll put you down, that involves this trope. So maybe I'm just a hypocrite. But in general, I don't love this one because I just feel like it potentially could offend a lot of people. Another mystery thriller trope that I love is a tried and true classic the unreliable narrator. I love this one because I think for similar reasons why I love multiple point of views or multiple timelines, I think it just makes the thriller so much more interesting when your narrator or main character doesn't always tell the reader the truth. I think that makes it so much more interesting and exciting. I know some people don't like this because some people can't like a book if they don't like the main character. But for me personally, that doesn't bother me. As long as the author intends for the main character to be a horrible person and it's not the case where you're supposed to root for them, but they're actually awful. If the character is intentionally written as unreliable or a liar, somebody who has bad intentions, that's totally fine with me. Now, another mystery thriller trope that I do not enjoy is what I'm going to call the crazy infertile woman. I have heard many women who struggle with infertility in their real life say that they think this is incredibly insensitive, and I'm inclined to agree. A lot of times in thrillers and in other genres as well, you will have a female character who is unable to have children for one reason or another, and that causes her to behave erratically, to be in a deep depression, to be so desperate that she will do anything to have a baby. I think this is really insensitive to people who are struggling to get pregnant or can't have biological children. And I just feel like it's vaguely sexist. Also, like, there's just this primal need in women to have a baby, and if they can't, it's gonna drive them crazy. I just think it's so overdone and kind of tasteless. So I would definitely like to see this trope be less present in thrillers in the future. Also, just to clarify, I'm not saying that if you're somebody who wants to have biological children and you can't, that's not a big deal. It is a big deal. I'm just saying when it comes to the depiction of infertility in media, I would like to see a more nuanced portrayal where this inability to procreate isn't driving a woman insane, or where that's only a small part of her character and she is totally sane and has a much more complicated personality. I don't like to see women be defined by their ability to conceive or not, because there is so much more to being a woman than making babies. The final favorite thriller trope I want to talk about is the closed circle mystery. You see this a lot in Agatha Christie's, which I love. I think that this trope is just great because it has this inherent tension and this sense of claustrophobia when you have a bunch of people who are all stuck in one isolated location, whether that be on a desert island or at a ski lodge where they're trapped in a snowstorm and they can't get out. I think that just brings this amazing tension and atmosphere to your thriller. Okay, now I know I said that these were in no particular order, but the last most hated thriller trope I want to talk about, I think this is the one that bothers me the most. And I'm going to call this the demonization of mental illness. I really hate it when I'm reading a thriller and then the twist in the book is that the main character or another one of the characters is actually crazy, and that's why they've been doing this. Because I think it's just offensive to people who do have mental health issues, and there's so many people with mental health disorders who are not violent. So this to me is just a really demonization of those people. Particularly multiple personality disorder is used so much in thrillers and depicted in a way that I think is very insensitive and not accurate. I think that it's also just, that aside, not that interesting to read about. It's been so overdone and I don't like it. I think it would actually be really interesting if in a thriller there was a character who did have multiple personality disorder or some other kind of mental illness, but they're not the murderer, and we can address those harmful stereotypes about mental illness. Like maybe the main character finds out that someone connected to the deceased has a mental illness and accuses them of having done it, and that character points out, hey, that's really offensive of you to assume that I'm violent because I have this disorder. I just think that the depiction of mental illness in thrillers is so overdone, and so many times the way the mental illness is portrayed is not based in fact. You know, you could at least do some research on this disorder and depict it accurately. So guys, those are my 5 favorite and 5 least favorite tropes in mysteries and thrillers. Let me know, were there any thriller tropes that you hate or love that I forgot to mention in this video? Do you disagree with anything I said? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would really like to hear your thoughts. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new bookish videos every single Wednesday. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Black Lives Matter resources are going to be in my description, as they have been for the past several videos now. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a sublime rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you in the next video.